So hi, One of the Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with
James from Thousand Below. How you guys doing?
and we're asking some questions today about their new album, Hell Finds You Everywhere. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to it so far?
It's been the best response we've got for a record so far. It was far surpassed anything that we thought it was going to do. We thought it'd do pretty well, but it's just came out the gate running, and it's been running since it dropped for the past month and a half. So that feels very good. Or month and almost 2 months now at this point. So yeah,
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Album
yeah.
rocks.
I just want
Thanks,
to
man.
say this album is beautiful. I have nothing to nitpick. I have nothing to complain about. Genuinely, like one of my favorite albums. Well done.
That's a great compliment. I have nothing to nitpick. I love that. That was the coolest thing I've ever heard. So thanks.
Thank you. So, is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Yeah. Absolutely, both things actually. When this was our pandemic record, and we really wanted to touch on that. We really wanted a lot of the themes of the record was about how a lot of mental health issues and stuff like that are I guess put under a microscope or accentuated and just made much worse when we were quite literally trapped inside for a couple of years, and just sort of that whole you know, hell finds you outside, hell finds you in your worst moments, and hell also finds you when you're alone in your room and not doing anything. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's part of like the mental health battle. That's part of dealing with depression and substance abuse and all those other issues that I talk about in the record. And the cover was actually like very indicative of that. The cover was, it's like a girl laying down in her room with like the light shaft coming in, looking just like helpless, hopeless. We've all been there. And the record isn't like about the pandemic specifically. It's not about, that isn't like mentioned. That isn't the main thing about it, but it's the darkness catching you in moments where maybe it's not so obvious that it should.
Mm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Perfect.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this album?
So essentially this one was different because it was the first time that, we all were like, hey, let's be producers ourselves. We did about two-thirds of the record alone at home in our rooms, which again, it's the pandemic record. We did a couple tracks with producers, but sorry about that.
No worries.
You're
Mute
all
this
good.
guy. um, I'll just turn it off. But yeah, so to us, it was a big deal to be able to prove, like, all right, let's see what type of music we can make alone in our rooms. Like, can we make a hit single? Can we make like a banger? Whereas before we'd work with producers mostly, and there's a lot to learn from working with different producers. Every time I go work with somebody, I come out with like a vast amount of new knowledge. But yeah, no, the stakes were higher and also in a weird way lower because I had more time to just like when you're recording yourself, you have all this time to just try new things and just really, you know, stretch what you're capable of doing, especially when you're not on someone else's time. Someone's recording you, you have more time to like kind of sit at home and obsess over, for me, it's like little voice cracks and textures and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a good thing.
Are you guys planning to like self-produce from this point forward, or was
Oh
it just
yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think the plan is definitely like moving forward now. It's probably do like, the two singles usually, labels like to have one radio-esque song, which I actually feel like that was the one mark that we didn't really hit at all on this record. We didn't have like a, like octane rock and roll
no,
type
you
single.
didn't.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, no, literally, it's like, our last record we had this song Chemical, and that was sort of like aiming for that. And this record, we're like, hey, let's not aim for anything. Let's just make a bunch of things that we feel fit what we want to do right now and how we're feeling with the record and whatnot. So yeah, definitely. We've actually even had to talk about this with the plan moving forward. For sure, gonna be making a lot of music alone in our rooms because it came out pretty good, and it's also nice to be able to just like see what just our brains are able to come up with. But we'll probably do like two or three singles with, that was like what we did with this. We did like three songs with producers, and then the rest was with us.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you actually liked being able to kind of nitpick, as you said, like little voice cracks or anything in the song that you personally would like to change. Did that not drive you insane by just kind of trying to make everything perfect?
No, it was actually the opposite. So this interesting thing with this band. This is my first band I've done any like clean singing in. When I was younger, I did just screaming. So it's been a very long and honestly kind of stressful like learning process to sort of show up, and as the band sort of gets its pop a little bit more and more, I have to become like better and better of a singer. So actually, it was nice to be able to not just feel like I was wasting anyone's time if I was missing a note or like going over and over again on the take. It was actually, to me, it was a good feeling. But that's because every year, every tour, every album that I make in this band, it's a learning process. I'm still like honing in on my voice. Every tour that I'm on, I feel like I'm technically the newest at my instrument, if that makes sense. Like
Hmm.
so there's still years and years of work that I have to do to make my voice like better and better. So I actually like the time to be able to sit at home and obsess over it. So
All
Okay,
right.
I get
yeah,
it. I
yeah.
get it. So what song off this album took the longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
Ooh, the longest to write. That's I think the Blue Roses Don't Fade song took a sec for me to actually like hit properly. I remember the first couple renditions of stuff that I sent to the guys. I could tell they weren't that excited about it, and I was like, I don't know if this is it either. I don't even know if this song should go on the record. So that was like one that I tried
Hmm.
finishing up in the beginning, and then came back to it at the end, and just like one day I just sat down and just like sat down on my computer, started recording, and I was like, oh, this is it, and it all just kind of clicked in. But my favorite track is the last one. It's called All I Have Left to Give,
Mhm.
and it's just I feel like that song perfectly embodies what me and our guitar player Josh. We have two Joshes in our band, so Josh Thomas. It perfectly embodies what we sort of like want the band to be and what we feel the band should be. But obviously, there's, we want to keep the sound like a wide scope of things. But yeah, that's my favorite track for sure.
Hell
Good
yeah.
pick.
So how'd the track list for your album come about? Did you guys write the opener be the opener, closer be a closer? Did you shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
When I wrote All I've Left to Give, I knew it was going to be the closer. As soon as like I dialed in on that, I was like, yeah, this is going to end the record for sure. And I'm like, I'm so I guess like I'll use that word nitpicky. I'm very intense about like starting a record and ending a record. But I didn't know that the title track was going to start it for a long time. It took me a while to realize like, oh, this is how the record should just come out the gate.
So
So
that was like naturally that felt like it, not just because of the feature that was on it.
Oh yeah, no, the feature was like a thing that popped up later,
Okay.
which obviously is super awesome. But and there's was sort of there's the weird thought that like, oh, maybe don't start the record with a feature, but Noah's our friend. Obviously, Bad Omens is popping. We were like, why not? Like how could this hurt at all? Um, so yeah, I don't know. I forget the exact like chunk of time where that was decided, but I think with the middle of the record, I let JB, our bass player, like pick the order. I was like, "Hey, how do you think this should go?" And I was very like, "Hey, this should start the record. This should end the record." I think I had one other. I think I was also like, "Hey, this should be second and last," and everything else like he picked it. I was like, "Cool, let's roll with that." But yeah.
All right.
Love it. So you kind of went over it a little bit earlier, but if you'd like, you could go a bit more in depth. Would you be able to tell us where Headspace is at while you're creating this record?
Again, it was I so I think when we were wrapping it up, the pandemic was also kind of wrapping up, and I think I was in a much better spot at the time. I was feeling a little bit less lost in my life, because like being a musician, like every artist in the whole world got their job taken away from them, and obviously lots of different careers got their job taken away from them. Um, but the entertainment industry, for one, just completely evaporated pretty much, and we didn't even know if we were going to play shows for a long time. I didn't know if art was still going to be a thing in my life, so that was pretty depressing. But once towards the end, once we started seeing things, like the world got vaccinated, everything was kind of getting back to normal. So I was feeling much better at that time. In the beginning, it was very, I think everyone in the entertainment industry was feeling pretty bleak in terms of, oh crap, like I might have to find something else to do with my life. But yeah, towards the end, I was feeling pretty good though. I went back to school and stuff, and I graduate in May now, so I was able to stay productive and just stay working on good stuff.
Oh yeah. Congrats.
Congratulations.
Oh yeah.
Thank
Um,
you.
how were you kind of able to stay inspired during that time?
Um, Honestly, again, it keeps like it's funny. That's the first time that someone's asked me that actually in any of these interviews about this record. So that's cool.
Hell yeah.
Um, I again like being able to record myself at home, and so in the pandemic, like there was the weird like crypto surges and stuff like that. I made like a decent chunk of money off of one of the coins.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
So I took all that money and was like, hey, let's buy like some really nice at home recording gear, like recording hardware that I can learn how to use, really nice, expensive like tier one microphone type stuff. So being able to like learn how to record myself, and also again, it keeps dialing back to that thought of not being on anyone else's time in a recording studio made me feel like I could really like get more in touch with making the take sound more emotional and stuff like that. So that was actually the inspiring part. Just being in my room and hitting record and being like, oh my God, I can actually do this for myself. Like I don't need to like lean on the whole producer aspect of things. And there was a handful of times where I was at home recording myself and I was like, yo, this is sick. Like, and I'm just alone in my room on like a Wednesday night, 3 in the morning. I was like, my roommates were way on the other side of the house. So I could like go ham in my room. And I had my room all like, sound treated and stuff. So that was where a lot of the inspiration came from, was actually just me being like, I'm doing this myself. So
That's
It's
fucking
all
awesome.
me.
Hell yeah.
yeah.
So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should they do it in the car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally
Um,
recommend?
so what's funny is I actually had a handful of friends tell me like there's certain tracks on there that they're like, this is a workout track, and I was like, oh, I never even saw it that way. Like apparently Clockwork Enemy is like just like the best running song. Apparently the tempo on that is very like, you know.
Hmm.
Also I have a buddy that like sends me a pic like a screenshot every time he's listening to the title track at the gym. So it's kind of it's cool to hear those type of things. That stuff inspires me. So
Hell yeah. All right.
yeah, but just front to back in any setting. I don't know if it's like a throw it on in with the homies in the car type record, except like I think Silent Season and Blue Roses Don't Fade. Like yeah, you could throw that on in the car with the homies.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words, no more, no less.
Mm, Hell finds you. You know
Can we
the
take that?
no, literally. It's actually I think I'm- I think that there's sometimes topics and records that people there's also kind of like this artist is like super cheesy, and a lot of people like he's a clown in a lot of ways, but I'm a fan. Drake. I think there's a lot of artists that sort of say
Sorry.
more. They say what people are thinking but don't want to say out loud.
Mhm.
And I think that was a big thing with this record for me. I was like, I want to sort of like touch on a subject matter that everyone's feeling, everyone's thinking right now, but maybe it's not so obvious to be like, hey, you know, why am I, let's just say nothing even really horribly bad happened to you in the pandemic, but just being like trapped at home, things aren't going way up, things aren't going way down. Like, why is there misery in those moments? Why is a lot of, like mental health problems and even substance abuse issues, like I mentioned before, like, why do those things get, um, just like magnified when
Mhm.
nothing is going on even sometimes and it's like a weird guilty thing sometimes. It's like, oh, when you're feeling bad and there's not really a super obvious reason to feel bad, and that makes you feel worse because
Yeah.
you're like, I don't even have a set reason for this, but it boils down to a lot of things. Like there's a million reasons why people can be depressed for being trapped inside. It's like the lack of hope in terms of your social life coming back, your career path, your purpose in life, that those type of things that keep humans' brains like happy. Like to
Hmm.
me, if I feel purposeless, that's one of the worst things in the entire world, man. Like, and as an artist, those things can be uh, very, very bad when there's no shows to play, when there's no music coming out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. So what is your favorite memory that you made while creating this album?
Mm, I think creating the record. I think the whole like the band group chat anticipation. One thing when the mixes were coming out, because when you record a song, you have like a shitty demo mix in your room. You're like, all right, like this is this is kind of cool. Maybe it's good. Maybe people will be into this. And then once the mixes started coming back in, watching everyone in the band like get all, I guess, like motivated again, get all like, oh my God, like things might come back. Like we might like just making jokes about like, oh, like, this is gonna cure the pandemic. What, this is gonna those type of things.
Yeah.
Just yes, just wait. When the mixes started coming back, it was nice to see the band motivation pop back up for the first time in literally like 2 years. So that was nice.
That's fucking awesome.
That makes me very happy to hear.
Thank you.
So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour. You're at a gas station for a rest stop. You're going in. What is your snack of choice?
my band hates me for this. But like I like eating just cereal with no milk, just like dry cereal, like it's like chips or something like that. So like Frosted Flakes, Apple Jacks, and everyone makes fun of me for that. I get roasted for this constantly. So
at least it's flavored cereal and not just like straight Cheerios.
Oh yeah, no, it needs to be like sugary beyond any beyond any level that it should be. It has to be just really, really bad for me. So, but yeah.
All right.
That's what makes it so good.
Exactly.
So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Trying to think of the most least cohesive and most annoying food in the world. Let's think. Like think like a God. I'm trying to think of a food that's bad. Because there's a lot of like with our band, there's like a lot of things on paper, like just mentally, like it shouldn't work, but it does. Probably just like the weirdest, most complicated casserole you could ever imagine. There's lots of
God damn, not casserole.
Shitty layers to it, and at the end, you look at it and you're like, this just looks bad, but then it tastes good anyways. Maybe at the end, because at the end of the day, we always like pull it together, and when we hone in on the music, everything works out. But all the other aspects of our band are kind of just like, it's like what the hell are we doing? Like how does this work at all? It's
a total clusterfuck.
Yeah, literally. Like it's like just mentally, we're just like very different people, and even more so than I thought that we were when the band started. Like I'm really different than the other guys. The two Joshes are really different than Max. Me and Max have similarities, but yeah, we're just really different people. And those type of things get really, really accentuated on on long tours and stuff like that. But it's interesting the way it comes together. So yeah, I guess like some weird, fucked up, ugly casserole that actually tastes good for some reason. So
all right,
you scared me with the casserole, but I get it.
I mean, I don't even like casserole, so that was weird.
You pulled it together though.
Yeah. I'm curious what people like usually say for that question. Like what's a common answer you guys get for that?
They put no thought into it. They say pizza. They say buffets.
A buffet, yeah.
I like that.
Last night we got sushi roll, but like the band explained it very well. So normally it's just like we just like sushi. Explained it very well that time, but normally it's just like
no casseroles though, not yet.
No, honestly. Yeah.
I'm honored to be the first casserole on your show. Or my band is the first casserole.
So for this last couple of questions, we're actually going to shift away from music, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk. I'm here to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. If y'all want to talk about football, sure. I'm talk about anything, man.
All right. So are you okay if we switch over to death row?
Yeah.
Cool. So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Oh, okay. We on the tour that we just did with like Bad Omens, Day Seeker, Make Them Suffer. On Thanksgiving, we were in Chicago. We went to this restaurant called Chicago Chop House. That was it's just like kind of famous like steakhouse, and they had very, very good prime rib, and it was fucking so good. Like I still think about it very often. So definitely that for sure, if that was an option.
Okay, and the drink for that with that.
I love Arnold Palmer's. Like I love
Absolutely.
like lemonade and ice. I don't drink alcohol with food. To me, like alcohol is purely a partying thing. So definitely like an Arnold Palmer, but with pink lemonade. There for some reason it's better that way. So
never had a pink lemonade.
They're so good. Oh my god, I'm like just frothing thinking about it.
You gotta get yourself a pink Arnold Palmer.
Yeah. So I just moved to LA, and there's this thing I've noticed that like so I lived in San Diego my whole life, and with most restaurants, like in San Diego specifically, there's they have the Coke products like where it's like the found drinks, and the
Yeah.
found drinks usually always have a lemonade option, whereas LA it's just all like soda cans. Like you pay like $2 for like like a regular candy Coke, and it's actually really fucking annoying. Like
Yeah, that sucks. You don't get to mix and match.
yeah, I can't get Arnold Palmer pretty much anywhere in LA except like the only place that I found by my house that has that is this like sushi restaurant, which is amazing, but it's a little expensive. So and sometimes I'm like, am I driving to this place just because I want Arnold Palmer really bad? Like, do I even want sushi? Like, I have to like wrestle with that thought in my head, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
All right. So if you could live in one fiction world for a week, where would you live?
Star Wars for sure, man. Like that was a funny thing that came about by the pandemic. I didn't give a shit about Star Wars before the pandemic. Like I had never watched any of the Star Wars like TV show stuff. None of like I didn't know anything about it. I didn't care about it, and lots of downtime in the old pandemic, especially for a washed up music artist like me. Like a guy that like wasn't playing shows in the middle of the pandemic, and I was looking for entertainment and stuff like that, and man, I really just dove in hard on Star Wars type stuff, all the TV content that they have, which is so, to me, and I don't want to go like full Star Wars nerd on you guys.
Go for it, man.
They just, the TV content is what fleshes the Star Wars universe out really, really powerfully and beautifully. And it's like the movies are like the least important part of Star Wars. And I didn't realize that, I just watched the movies and I was like, cool, like this is good. Some of it's like, very clearly like mainstream movie pandering and stuff like that, especially the new ones.
Yes.
But there's a lot of people had a lot of negative things to say about the newer ones. But stuff like Rogue One or whatever. And then there's that TV show that just came out, Andor. Like that is my favorite TV show I've ever watched ever. I'm in the middle of the pandemic. I really dove into things like the Clone Wars, which is this like animated TV show.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it's like it just really fleshes out the universe and makes everything like it creates this like the massive scoped world. But yeah, so definitely Star Wars for sure.
Hell yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person we've spoken to has actually said it is the most important question.
Okay, I'm excited.
What's your favorite color?
Okay, so I stole this answer from my best friend Chaz. And it's a funny answer, but it's like sounds stupid, but it actually makes a lot of sense. Green, but sometimes blue. And it's like kind of deeper than it sounds. Actually, if you think about it for a sec, you're like, wait, that makes a lot of sense. Like on, I don't know. I think maybe there was like maybe we were just like baked as fuck when that question first came out. But I remember like my buddy Chaz, he is this interesting man. He's like an ethereal creature in my life. But yeah, one day someone asked him that, and he said that, and we all were like, "Whoa!" like it just blew everybody's minds, and we were like, I think also I just never heard someone say like it's okay to have, like two answers for that question. Everyone stresses over it, like, oh, it's like orange or black, or oh, I don't want to choose, I don't want to commit. It's like it's green. It's like to me, it's like so obviously green, but also like I have this deep, profound connection to like ocean blue, but I also can't say that that's I don't want ocean blue to be the if you're stuck on a desert island with one color, what would it be? Says, which I don't think anyone has like ever asked that before, what I mean? But yeah, so green, but sometimes blue.
Okay. All right.
I don't mean to be that person, but I think you guys were just baked like.
Oh, without a doubt. But it was like a pivotal moment in my life. Like that's a thing now, like in my group of friends, like anytime someone like gets, someone probably like if you hear like someone around us be like, oh, what's your favorite color? We will like just everyone starts laughing, and it's like it becomes a big thing for us. So yeah, I guess to me that question is like a very like it's like a deep thing in my group of friends. It's like, oh, that's like reminds me of our weirdness and all that stuff. So yeah,
perfect answer then.
Yeah.
Perfect answer.
Yeah.
So as Gloria said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Oh yeah, I'll plug Chaz, my best friend Chaz, the blue but sometimes green guy. I'll plug his bands. They're called Ten Bulls. They're awesome. It's kind of like Tame Impala mixed with like Muse or something like that. They're very good. They're like literally some of the most talented musicians I've ever met in my entire life, and they should be bigger. And another band that should be bigger, this band called Dead Lakes, very good.
We're interviewing them tomorrow.
Okay, that's so good. Wait, which is this Sumner?
The vocalist.
Yeah, Sumner. Okay, I revoke my entire shout out, and I'm spending it on Sumner now. So yeah, he's just one of my favorite people in the entire world. Like, yeah, Chaz and Ten Bulls. Do not go check out their band. Go check out Dead Lakes. No, I'm joking.
Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. Yeah. But yeah, Sumner is like we have this thing in our band. We have these terms that it's called sunshine people. People that we meet on tour. That tour can break you down in a lot of ways. There's lots of bad days to be had. There's lots of ups and downs. And sunshine people is this honor, this award that me and my band members give to these people that are on tour that never for a single day let the the downs of being on tour affect them in a way that bums out anybody else or anything like that. And Sumner is a sunshine person. That guy will just happy. We brought him on tour with us, both like in his band and also just like do merch for us and stuff like that. And he's consistently a ray of happiness and sunshine, and also a very talented guy. He's one of those people that is such a good singer, and their band is so good. And I don't even think that they know how good they are. And I'm a huge fan of their band and just as people too. And I don't even think that they know like how awesome they are. And I wish they knew that. But yeah, so Dead Lakes is great. That's all.
Hell yeah.
Well, if they're listening now, they now know.
There we go. Yeah, but tell them I said hi.
Definitely will. All right. Well, thank you for now. It's been James from Thousand Below, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.